All right, so we are joined by the 80th Miss Jackson State University, native of St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, graduate of Jackson State, graduate of Georgetown University, marketing specialist, Naysa Lynch. We thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule today to talk to our juniors and seniors here at Velma Jackson High School. We've got a room full. We are recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools at Madison Central High School, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you again for taking some time for us today, because you have such an amazing story, so many great things you advocate for, and so many skills that you have that you want to see young people develop as well.
Oh, thank you for having me. What an amazing introduction. And hi, everyone. I'm really looking forward to speaking to you today.
Now, before we get into your journey at Jackson State, which was really throwing a curveball from COVID, and then going to the great institution, Georgetown, there in Washington, D.C., we need to start with the fact you are from St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. And for everybody that will see this and everybody here with me, that means you are an American. The Virgin Islands are part of the United States. You do not need a passport to go to the Virgin Islands to the United States or vice versa. You have American money. Joe Biden is the president of the Virgin Islands. So for everybody that is curious, the United States Virgin Islands are part of the United States.
Yes, so everything he said is correct. We do not vote for the president. That's why we have representation as a U.S. House representative. So currently our Congresswoman is Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett. And I actually had the privilege of working with her when I was in college at Jackson State. I interned with her on Capitol Hill for a little bit, mainly because I wanted to understand what it was like being her. But yeah, that's our voice, considering we don't vote for the president, but we do have to abide by whatever the president says. We do have a governor that governs the Virgin Islands. And so, yeah, that's our local voice and advocate. And then our governor works, of course, with our Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I just wanted to clear that up because, people think geography is dumb, but then you sound dumb when you don't know geography. So did want to throw that out there because I think that's important. Now, you had the great privilege of going to Jackson State, and were the 80th Miss Jackson State, and you held that title during COVID, which was very well publicized in several magazines and on the news. So talk a little bit about, what led you to be Miss Jackson State, what led you to go to Jackson State, and then what it was being the face of the university during such a crazy time.
Great question. So I found out about Jackson State while I was in high school. I think the first time I had really heard about Jackson State might have been somewhere between sophomore year and junior year. And my high school, which is Charlotte Amalie High School, is in the Virgin Islands on St. Thomas, one of the best high schools on the island, if I do say so myself, if not the best. But we used to have HBCU college fairs every year. And one of I think junior year, I was really, so shout out to anyone in the marching band or in the music department, because I was heavily involved in our music department, and our teachers strongly encouraged us to audition for any schools that came and wanted to audition for their programs, any colleges that came to audition. So my junior year was the first time that I had auditioned for Jackson State. Also there was Norfolk State. They were only looking for band students versus Jackson State was open to choir and even piano, and as well as the band. So back then I used to play the saxophone. Did not audition that because I did not want to join the band. However, I did like voice and I played a little bit of piano. And that's when Dr. Stanford that came down, he's no longer at Jackson State, but he was who came to recruit. He said that if I had auditioned my senior year, I could potentially get a scholarship to attend Jackson State. So that was nice to hear, very encouraging. I wasn't the only one that auditioned both years, but I was the only person my year that decided to come to Jackson State. My decision to go to Jackson State was pretty simple. College applying can be really overwhelming, as you probably already know.
Yeah.
And so I think I just got overwhelmed by the whole process. I think I figured out later on in the process that I didn't want to just go to like a business school, because initially I had put a lot of energy in applying to business schools. And I think later I realized business schools meant, mainly business. It wasn't like a university where you had access to diverse types of just anything, any types of, divisions of schooling. So I wanted somehow to pursue business and still do music, but not take music too seriously. Because for me, I just wanted it to be an outlet. So when it was all said and done, I realized I had only applied to like 2 or 3 actual universities and like 7 business schools. So I narrowed, that was my top 3 at that point, and called everyone. I called Jackson State. I spoke to their admin office, just asked a bunch of questions, and I felt really at peace after that call. And so I went from accepting because they had already expressed interest in me, right? I went from accepting my invitation to attend, to being at Jackson State, coming to Jackson for the first time on moving day.
Wow.
Everything was really just a leap of faith. I just took the chance. It seemed like a good thing to at least try. I told myself if I didn't like it, I would just find something else, but I was, willing to at least try. And honestly, from day one, it was the best choice of my life. I met some long-lasting friends who are still, like I said, long-lasting. So I still have some of those day one friends still. Others, you know, just we distance ourselves. But I just truthfully felt that, I guess, Southern hospitality or whatever you want to call it from day one. And I felt really comfortable and fell in love with the campus, fell in love with the people, and started getting involved. So like I said, I mentioned I like music. So I gravitated to the music department. I joined the choir, got involved in the African drum and dance ensemble that started when I first got here as well. I just started going to events. I love the energy so much that I wanted to be a part of as much as I could. And from doing that, I built really nice friendships and relationships with people. And I just got inspired. One of the biggest things that inspired me to run for Miss Jackson State was the Miss Jackson State my freshman year, Destiny Lawrence. I was mesmerized by her energy on campus. She was infectious. Her smile was infectious. So I wanted to be her. I wanted to have the opportunity to like grace another freshman possibly with that kind of energy. So that freshman year, that was when I decided that I was gonna pursue Miss Jackson State. I didn't know how. No one knew me at the time to get to that point. But I knew it was gonna happen, or I was gonna at least attempt to make it happen.
That's awesome. Now, because I do want to talk about your degree as well, but I think you mentioned something great because you mentioned getting involved on campus. And I tell everybody, you have to make the best college decision for yourself, no matter where it is, HBCU, PWI, community college, public, private, in-state, out-of-state, whatever. But it's important no matter where you go to find ways to get involved and also find ways to get scholarship. I know Jackson State, you mentioned the music program. You weren't a music major, but you were able to get scholarship money to perform and get an outlet and meet people. And and my good friend Mark Henderson over there at Jackson State, the director of Mad Drama, he gives people the opportunity to act and be in great stage productions. A lot of them, most of them are not drama majors, but they're able to get experience on stage in front of people. They're able to get scholarship money. And it is an unbelievable resume builder to show that you have a diverse college experience. So even if you don't want to be a Miss Jackson State or Mr. Mississippi State, wherever you go, getting involved, finding your place, and the networking aspect is just as important as the academic aspect of college. Because yes, you want to have great grades to keep your scholarship, to have that high GPA, but if nobody knows who you are, you don't have near as good of a chance to get the job that you want, that you're getting the degree for.
Exactly. It's so true. And even like you said, getting the grades is so important. Because for some reason, and I know this isn't the easiest to grasp sometimes, because I know I might be speaking to people that are not, or students that are not really fond of school, or not really interested in all the academics that go into being a part of extracurricular activities. But for me, I use keeping my grades up as some kind of like motivation to still do the things that I wanted. So, for instance, while I was at Jackson State, um, as soon as my last class was over, I would head to the library, working as much work as I can while I have that momentum. That way, later on, I can go to that meeting or that event. Like I
Yep.
used that. That was not a nighttime doing homework, studying kind of person in college. I can't tell you that I stayed up all night studying because that's just not me. However, I would wake up early because I'm an early riser and I would get my work done. And that way, after I'm, finished with classes, I might stop at the library for a little bit and then, go socialize. That was my balance. That's how I was able to try to be a part of almost everything, while still keeping my grades up. Because guess what? You can't be a part of, sororities or any of those other organizations if you don't have the grades,
Yep.
So that's another.
Now, while you were there, you got a degree in marketing, and I know, and we'll talk about your career as well. But what made you choose that career path? Because I'm a I'm a huge advocate for marketing and sales jobs because I think it's such an important skill. Literally, every industry, every company has marketing and sales people. Everywhere, everything from startups to the dang hospital. So you literally have marketing professionals across the board. So, what was your interest in getting into marketing? Because I think it's a great field to get into.
I agree. So I came into college. Well, let's start with high school. I was on the business track at high school, in high school. Took a lot of business courses, and that's what led me to apply to so many business schools initially, right? I hope I'm not confusing anybody, by the way.
That's
So
fine.
once I got to college, I stayed on that general business track. So I did join the College of Business, but I joined as a business, like economics, just kind of like that general, just because I wasn't really sure. I came to college not really knowing, just trying to stick to what I already knew. But after getting involved in like student elections and actually enjoying promoting myself, I thought that it would be more fitting to transfer to like a marketing. At the time, it was marketing and management. I thought that one, I wanted to increase my chances of getting a job after college. And it seemed like narrowing down my concentration was the smartest move. Because, like, just saying, you're a business person, it didn't seem as promising at the time for me. I wanted to be able to say, well, yes, I have a business degree, but I'm concentrating in something. And so that's something I didn't want to have to extend my time at Jackson State unnecessarily. So I had the courses already that would lead me down that marketing track. And so that's what initially got me interested in marketing. I kept helping like other friends develop marketing campaigns to promote themselves whenever they wanted to run. I've had friends win just from my assistance, whether it's creating some graphics for them. I've been successful myself. I put my whole campaign together for Miss Jackson State by myself. Um, I had some help with the graphics for that one because you want it to be real nice. But yeah, that's what led me down the path of marketing, and I truly have not looked back yet. So.
Yeah, and marketing is just as much psychological as it is business because sales is the ultimate mental game. If you can sell something in this country, you can work anywhere. And people want to disagree with me about that, but that's a fact. Every single industry has to have people to sell their product. They have to have people to develop the material, and they have to have people to work with the customers. Now, after you got your marketing degree, you got a master's in marketing at Georgetown University. So you went from the state HBCU to the Catholic PWI in Washington, D.C. So talk a little bit about the difference between those two institutions and what you got out of being at a Catholic PWI in a very large, crazy city.
Yes. So the differences, I would say, and so for me, I graduated from Jackson State in 2020, and it was during the first phase of the COVID-19 pandemic. So everything pretty much shut down around that time, right? So I thought the world was gonna be at a standstill, but I didn't know what was gonna happen like next. So
Yeah.
me thinking like panic mode, I just started to apply to different things, whether it was jobs, school programs. I was not even sure what I wanted to pursue it with my master's, but I knew I wasn't gonna be caught slipping whenever whatever blows over. So Georgetown was one of the schools. I think I had only applied to two, honestly, it was like, or three. So Georgetown, Syracuse, and Southern New Hampshire University. And of course, when Georgetown accepted me, for me, it was a no-brainer because I already had fallen in love with DC. At the time, everything was fully remote. But I was hoping at some point the program would like force me to have to move to DC.
Yeah.
Never happened that way, but that experience at Georgetown, I'll say that Jackson State definitely prepared me for Georgetown because the culture at Jackson State, it's very much driven by owning who you are
Yeah.
and being among, students at Georgetown, just by the name, it could be a bit intimidating. Just because you can imagine that would be some of the best scholars, in the world attending Georgetown. I had students that were, or classmates from the other side of the world, in class with me, and you're hearing they're working at like Google, Microsoft, and Zoom, and all these prestigious organizations. And, for me, I haven't even made it to that peak part of my life yet. So initially, or just thinking about it, it can seem a bit intimidating, but that owning who you are, energy from Jackson State, especially when you decide to like put yourself out there and run for the different titles, you know that when you go into a room, you speak as if you're that person, like you're it. And so going into those rooms or those classes, speaking with confidence, not being afraid to ask questions, getting to know your classmates as much as they will allow you to, that helped me be successful at Georgetown. I've met a few people that I'm still talk to in that program, including one of my last professors, and that networking that I gained, or the networking skills that I gained at Jackson State, I use that now. Whenever we connect, she always connects me with people around the world that are doing what I want to do soon. And I just continue to nurture that because I mean, that's all I know, nurturing relationships to get to where I want to be and to hopefully inspire them as well. So all of it really was full circle for me.
Yeah.
Everything that I've experienced has prepared me for now, even as I work full time. I've been out of that master's program for a little over a year now. So it's been a challenge and we could get into that, but I feel very prepared for whatever is next.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned about being able to introduce yourself, being able to present yourself, being able to sell yourself. Because even if you're not a marketing person, and I can speak for all the other teachers that'll see this later. These kids want to act like we are pulling teeth to get them to present in front of the class. It is not to make them feel embarrassed or to scare them, but the way the world works, people are going to go by first impressions. People are going to go by the way you carry yourself. You could have a 4.0, but if you can't sell the fact that you have a 4.0 and go in a room and let people know who you are, closed mouths don't get fed. Again, and it goes back to being involved in college. You can have a 4.0, but if people don't know that, you just got a degree for nothing.
Exactly. I'm so glad you honed in on the selling yourself because something that I've been experiencing now, even as I try to like propel with my marketing career, um, um, resumes,
Oh, we're going to get on
resumes are
resumes next 9 weeks. Yeah, they don't know it yet. We're going to hit resumes hard next 9 weeks.
okay. Well, resumes, it's one thing for your resume to look great. But everybody can put together a nice resume these days, especially with all these tools. So being able to sell yourself and to talk about how you are unique and the reason why you're the best candidate for something, oh, that is so golden. And it's something that everyone is still trying to get better at. So that's, as you all enter that stage, please, like, even as you put your resume together, please practice selling yourself. I promise it's such a hidden or lost art that is gonna get you through the rest of your life as long as you can back up whatever you have on there in a very profound way. So please, speaking from
Absolutely.
experience.
Absolutely. And yeah, and we're really going to work on the writing and the presenting next 9 weeks because when it comes, even in a job interview, you know, you have to show from the jump that you are the best person for the job. You have to show that you're the best person for a program. So it really is a lost art that I am very passionate about. Now, something you're very passionate about, and you've been very open and transparent about your personal struggles, that you shared with us last time about your struggles with anxiety, and which is a huge mental health crisis in the United States of people of all genders, all races, all ages. But it's something that is kind of taboo in certain communities. But it is something very real. But it is also something that is very treatable and things that can be worked on. So tell us a little bit about some of the things you shared last time with that, and talk about some of the things that if somebody is suffering from something similar, the ways that they can seek help and be able to overcome something that something they should not be ashamed of.
Yes, so anxiety, it's been such such a roller coaster road with my battle with anxiety. Recently, um, recently I have experienced it in a heightened way. And I know it's partially because I have been going through a lot of changes with my life and just my family. And so to be fully transparent, in December, I lost my dad. He died from heart failure. And around that time, my mom was also going through her battle with health. And so just having those two things happening to two people that I absolutely love with my entire heart happen around the same time while still trying to climb in my daily life, whether it's professionally or just making sure that I'm okay. That has been extremely, extremely, extremely tough. The fact that I can speak to it today, a lot of people have been so amazed by my ability to speak to all of this hardship with such poise, I guess. But there's something about me that can kind of disconnect, especially in a setting like this. But the biggest thing that has helped me in all of it lately, because this is fresh stuff here, has just been doing what I really realize my body needs or my mind needs. And so that takes actually having moments with myself where I'm honest about what I'm feeling. And then honestly going to get whatever I'm feeling or that I need. So that whether that means I need to find someone to speak to. In, the student's case, you have a guidance counselor or someone on campus that is trained to help you. Whether or not you built that relationship with them is never too late. Even if it's just a one-time thing or you're trying to get to a place of being comfortable to speak to someone, I recommend, even if it's just the bare minimum, you can say a sentence to that person, just at least start opening up that possibility of having someone to speak to, someone that is mentally trained or, to help. Because believe it or not, there are a lot of people that want to help, and in a it's just in a genuine way. Um, I've also done things like I go to the gym often. I realize that running helps, just keeping active, screaming if necessary. Sometimes I like to be just by myself. And for me, that's, just going to like a place of solitude. I am very faith driven as well. So for me, going to church and things like that helps. Speaking to even like a pastor, like I have several like pastor friends, or like aunties and uncles, that I can speak to. Just trying different things. Because one thing may not always work all the time. But the goal is to never give up on yourself, because you're your biggest you're your biggest enemy, and you're also your biggest cheerleader, and you have too much to live for. So it's a journey, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, and then especially all these college campuses have really invested money in mental health services for students, because it is not uncommon or strange to deal with some type of mental health transition when you are in a new environment. whether you get wherever you go to school. So, you know, we have a room full of kids just a few months from graduation. They're going to transition into that college phase or that community college phase or military, whatever. All these places provide things and resources, and it's so important to make the most of that. And
Yes.
I think that's the thing I want everybody to take away from that, is that no matter who you are or where you go, there's always going to be resources to help you get over. And the worst thing to do is to keep it in and not talk to somebody to work through the issues that you may have.
That absolutely. Like, please take advantage. Um, take as much advantage as your mind will allow you to, but always talk to somebody.
Well, I do have some questions, and I'll get to as many of these as I can. But I'm glad they're asking them and thinking about some serious issues. This first one is Selena Johnson. She's a junior here, and she asked, "What was it that convinced you to start talking so openly about your own mental health?"
Oh, this is great. Um, you know what? I can say we'll tap in on like social media. I know that in some instances, I've seen other people be open, whether it's like social media or even like at Jackson State. People before me making that a norm. It reminds me of like wearing natural hair out, seeing that so prevalently on campus made that normal. So I will say people before me, and that counts as me going in the room with people that are influential or I find influential, seeing them be vulnerable, because I can even recap going to events at Jackson State that were like sister to sister conferences or something where it's meant to empower others. Seeing women dressed up in nice outfits and heels and all that, and seeing them be vulnerable with me has kind of helped me to say, okay, now that I've seen that done, I mean, I would love to be that for someone else because that did so much for me. Even on the strength of losing my dad, there is a specific young lady that I went to college with. She was like 2 years older than me. Watching her still continue to live and travel and post about it on her Instagram has inspired me so much to keep doing that too. Because I mean, she looks great and she's been through so much, and it's like, wow, if she can look like that despite everything, maybe I can keep going, you know? So I will say watching other people has influenced me a lot to speak up.
Absolutely. Now this one isn't as serious, but this is still a good question. This is Christian Wolf. He's a senior, and he asked, St. Thomas is obviously a very beautiful place, but is it strange growing up on an island, and when you live on an island, do you always want to leave?
uh, I guess for me it wasn't strange growing up because you know when you are somewhere and you haven't left, it just seems normal. Like you don't know what else is out there half the time, so it's, you know, normal. But leaving and coming back, it makes you appreciate it more, if anything. And then the second part was what?
Uh, w- did living on the island make you want to leave?
Oh, no, it didn't make me want to leave, but it made me, I wouldn't say, let's just say I wanted to see what else was out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's leave it at that. I always
Absolutely.
go back. I go back really often, if that helps. If anybody's
Yeah.
trying to come,
Like I said, you don't need a passport, so it's a domestic flight.
anybody's trying to come, let me know. We could try to make it happen.
Absolutely. I love this one. This is Christian Mitchell. She's a senior member of our powerlifting team, our track team, our volleyball team. Great athlete. She has you've accomplished so much in the last 3 years. But if you could relive the last 3 years of your life, what would you do differently knowing what you know now?
So from 2021 to now, um, what if I could relive my life? Hmm. Save more money. I wish I would have saved more. Oh yes, that's definitely it. I wish I saved more money. That's it. But I did travel a little bit. I got to go to nice places, well, nice trips with different friends. So it was worth it, but I wish I just saved a little bit more.
Don't fall for the Instagram lifestyle. I would have to agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I love this question. This is RJ Jones. He's a junior, and he asked, what have been some of your most traumatizing experience that maybe have triggered your anxiety, and how did you overcome those triggers?
Yes, so I guess I could speak to the very last one. Like you just heard me kind of mention, my dad passing, and then my mom also not having the best journey with health recently. So still working through that. Talking about it helps. Um, I did connect with the doctor that has been helping me to go through, I have to go back in a month or so just to talk through like how things have been. Um, and so it's still an ongoing process, but I'm not giving up. I have so many things I still want to do. So that's how it's going. Just keep, I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. I think this is a good, and I've asked a lot. We've asked a lot of guests the same question. I love this one. This is Cornell Bacon. He's a senior member of our football team and our bowling team. But he asked, what was the hardest part about getting accustomed to a new environment when you went to college?
Hardest parts. Probably not having immediate access to like some things I have back at home, especially food wise. Um, Saturday mornings are a staple to like go down to the market and get specific foods. So not having that. Oh, and then weather. The St. Thomas doesn't get colder than like 70 degrees. So the changes in seasons was definitely something to get used to because I visited the States growing up, but at a specific time, not being there for the changes. So that was probably the two hardest things.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand this part of the country has some of the craziest weather in the world. Um, I love this. This is Gavin Griffin. He's a senior, just signed to play football at East Mississippi Community College yesterday. And
Congrats.
he asked, what is the hardest point? What was the hardest part of getting where you are today?
Mind over matter. Being in charge of this the entire time is difficult because your mind can play tricks on you, but that's why it's so important to feed your mind with great, things, reading often, even repetitive um affirmations help me get from point A to B every time. Because I'm telling you, the higher the height, the harder the mental battle sometimes. And that's why you have to stay grounded. Find something, whether it's faith, and stick to it because it gets harder. But once you're grounded, it becomes that much tangible or attainable.
Absolutely. Well, I just got two more. This is Deja Weaver. She's a senior member of our volleyball team as well. And that was a great segue to this one because she asked, what is your most preferred way to handle stress?
Most preferred way. Well, actually, I love a good Caribbean party. That's my favorite way to handle
You got
stress.
a great reaction on that.
Yes, I love Caribbean music, so soca and reggae. That's one of my favorite things to do. So I love carnival time. I'm getting ready to go to like an event next month, and then carnival at St. Thomas is in April. So that's one of my favorite things to do to just be stress free.
Yeah, and I think that, and and this is just me. This is just me, but I think it's so cool that the Virgin Islands is part of American. It's part of American culture, but it has its own culture as well. It's kind of like state of Louisiana has their own Louisiana Mardi Gras culture. The Virgin Islands is the same way. And I think you did a great job of when you were at Jackson State of bringing that Caribbean culture to the university, which is so cool, which really adds to the diversity of Jackson State.
Yes, I tried my best. The year before I was Miss Jackson State, I was Miss JSU Global, and I held like this Zumba class where we played like Caribbean music. I tried like some ways to give like a little sprinkle, a way that won't break the bank. But yeah, love it.
All right, that's awesome. I just got one more, and again, I'm just so glad that these kids are thinking about some important questions. But this is Dietrich Carter, also a senior member of our football and track team, and he asked, "How did you get past your trauma you faced to create a positive environment at your job?"
Positive environment at my job. I'm very open. Obviously, I'm very open in general, right? But my supervisor, I am open with her. She has this open door policy. It happens to be the president of the company that I work for. This is like my day job because I have like two side hustles. But she's very, she's very open with me, and she created a energy between us, or we've created that bond to where I can let her know like if I have too much going on or if I do have a lot going on. Because especially in November, I was going through a lot where I was at the doctor with my mom like for about 2 weeks straight. And I just let her know, like, hey, I'm still working today. Just keeping that line of communication open and being honest about how much I can contribute and knowing when to stop and to say no and to actually have to take a break. Those were things that I've done and continue to do. Like in a few weeks, I'm gonna try to take a break as well because um it's getting to that point where, I'm feeling like I'm heading towards capacity and might need a break. So just being honest all around is what helps.
Absolutely. Well, we're almost
And
out of time, and as always, we just thank you so much for joining us. But before we go, I've got a room full of kids that are getting ready to make that transition to the next step, no matter what it is, because high school is going to be over in a few months. But obviously, and you talked about, they're going to be in a new environment. They're going to have mental health triggers. They're going to have academic obstacles. They're going to have personal obstacles. But yet, you faced all of those and are a great example of how someone can be so successful and turn negatives into positives. So when these obstacles come to these young people, when they get ready to move on to that next step, what can they do to start preparing themselves to face them and be able to be just as successful as someone like you?
um, so one thing I did right before running for Miss Jackson State, was literally have a sit down with myself and write down just some things, just an effort to get to know who Naysa is a little bit better. I wrote down things that I'm passionate about. I wrote down things that I won't tolerate. I wrote down just anything I thought would help me to know where I'm at in my life, my values, and things like that. And so what that did for me was to tell me, or it also I also wrote down what would happen, what I would do if I did win or if I didn't win. And so that helped just to put everything I was about to deal with into perspective. Like it gave me like a clarity on, okay, I do want to be Miss Jackson State, but like what will I do if I don't win? Or what will I do if I don't get this internship, or, just to have that other plan. That way it's less pressure to make that one thing work. Like having that plan B or a different way to head towards plan A is always helpful. And also knowing who you are underneath all of these things that we want to do, underneath pursuing all these elaborate careers, being an athlete. Who are you behind all of that, and what's driving you to keep going? Because if it's winning all the time, oh baby, like that is not the best. That's not the most healthy relationship to have with whatever that is. It has to be something that nothing can truly change, driving you to do whatever it is. Or else, I mean, you might even lose yourself in the process. And it's just a bit harder, to find the good because it's not always gonna feel good. Um, so I use things to motivate me, like seeing my mom smile, or knowing, because I also had a brother that passed, knowing that my brother would have been so proud of me, or, you know,
Absolutely.
thinking about his smile in my head, like those things that will never change is what I use to say, okay, Nisa, this is what's going to motivate you to run for Miss Jackson State, to run for junior class president, to go out for that master's, to do that internship on Capitol Hill. Like that's what that's what fulfillment should feel like. And so as long as I'm getting that feeling, I'm doing great. Like whether or not I got that job or Georgetown accepted me, I'm doing great regardless. And I'm gonna do great regardless. Because obviously, if I don't get a job, and this applies to my life right now. If I don't get this job that I'm applying for, that means that something better is on the way.
Every time you hear a no, just because you hear a no doesn't mean there won't be a yes coming. I agree.
Exactly.
Well, such great stuff. And we were so glad to have you today. Naysa Lynch, the 80th Miss Jackson State University. Just such a cool story and such a cool background and great words of wisdom for these kids getting ready to graduate. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. Anytime.
All right. Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye,
See ya.
everybody.